There we go. We got Coach Rick Gaskell here tonight to present on the 3-3. Before we get going, I know I'm curious. I don't know much about Coach Rick. I just simply asked Coach Toro to find someone who'd done some 3-3 because I DC'd the 3-3 this last year. So I'm just I want to learn a little more nuance. And my favorite team, Wisconsin, they just picked up a 3-3 head coach and defensive coordinator. So I'm all in right now on it. But Coach, I was wondering, what is your current or most recent coaching position? Where and what did you do?
The last time I was a head coach, I was in the San Francisco Bay Area, and then was there for at high school for 5 years. We used the 3-3 there for a little bit, and then went to Southern California for a couple of years before coming back to Maui, and then was at Maui High a couple of years. But I've been coaching since 81. Yeah, 81. I graduated from college in Humboldt State a long time ago, 79, 80, something like that. So, but anyway, I've used the 3-3 several times on the high school level. We'll get into why we did it and the advantages of it for us there. And then we can talk a little bit about what some of the colleges are doing, like you were just talking about, and the differences that you would roam into with that. And there's some neat stuff for us. We got into it because of one of the programs that I took over. They were just, I don't think they'd won a game in like 3 or 4 seasons, and they were just tiny kids comparatively to the league. This was in the Bay Area there. So the high school was just being built. The original high school that I was in was built in the 30s, so it was just about to be condemned. So they built a new one, beautiful. They hired me as I was an assistant coach when I first started, but they hired me as the strength and conditioning coordinator, and I got to design and equip the strength facility. And so I was head strength and conditioning coach from there. So about the time that the first kids that we encountered there, our freshmen, about the time they got to be sophomores, we actually, it was their junior year, we switched out of the 3-3 and went to 4-3. Really, the only reason for it was I brought in a buddy of mine. He became our athletic director, and he was assistant strength coach at Fresno State University. Had also been coaching there on the defensive side. Great 4-3 guy. So I just turned it over to him, and we had the kids that could do it then. And before we had to do something that allowed us to move kids around. And we had, like I said, I think, some of our biggest linemen, we might've had maybe 180, 185 pounds, and there was only a couple of them. But the vast majority of the personnel that we had, these little suckers could fly. They were quick. So we had to be able to, move around, line up in different places and attack from different angles. And just, the worst thing we could do was try and take somebody, especially on the defensive line, or take an offensive lineman, think we're going to put hands on and read and react off of that. We'd be reacting at about 15 yards depth. So it looked like I get stuck in the crosswalk and got hit by a bus. Anyway, like I said, they were, at that school, it was small kids. And then when I first came over here, was it 2006? I was at a upcountry high school, King Kekalike, and somewhat the same thing. The coach, he kept saying we're 4-3, we're 4-3. He wanted me to, hired me as his DC, came in, and long story short, it's like you don't have enough bodies to be DC. Yeah, I mean, excuse me, 4-3. You've only got like 3 decent defensive linemen here, and you're utilizing them on offense too. So just, once again, a lot more kids that could move. So we went to that, and that worked out pretty well for us. We kind of fairly decent year, kind of like the one that King K had this year. Not the greatest record, but we were able to get into the playoffs, and that year we did win the state championship for, for whatever that was worth. But it was it allows for some flexibility, some things that you can do there for the type of personnel that you might have at a smaller high school, or how they the classes cycle in and out. Now you look at some of the colleges, TCU, if you can recruit for the positions on this, it's a pretty slick defense too. Would love to have had a 6'3" to 6'5" defensive ends, and maybe a 300 plus, a couple of guys like that you could put at the nose. But you don't see that too often on the high school level, and these are public schools, so we were definitely not able to go out and recruit anybody. You had to dance with who you got.
Yep.
So,
my last question for you before you really get going. I mean, obviously that was quite a good intro on giving us an idea of what you're going to be talking about, but what was your driving force to become a coach in the first place?
I grew up in a education coaching family. My dad was a football and gymnastics coach, from the day I was born. So always had an interest in it, and sports is one of those things that definitely allowed me some opportunities and some motivation for why I was in high school. I was not the greatest student in the world, and but it turned out to be a great deal for me. And then so I had a good background to come from. Dad was a good mentor on all those things. And then I was, very fortunate to play at each level I played at, had some great guys to get there. And then just, especially with the wanting to be in a position, where I was doing something to be, help, people. I didn't want to, being a businessman or something like that never interested me. So, the teaching aspect was kind of like the route to follow. So,
Sure. Awesome. All right. Well, I'll turn it over to you. I believe you have sharing privileges. So if
okay.
something's not working, just let me know. But
Let's see if we can bring this
appreciate it,
thing
Coach.
out here. Let's see, advanced. Find it here. Here we go. You guys see this?
Yes, I can see the 3-3 stack defense.
Okay, good. Get my ugly mug up and out of the way here. Mark put the little deal together the other day and had my picture on there from, I don't know when that was, but that was about 40 pounds ago. And I told him, the picture looks like it should be on the post office wall. Anyway, so let's move past this one here. So the base alignment that we always start off with teaching our kids, we try to keep things as simple as possible for them, for their learning progression. We had a very wide variety of kids. We had kids that have played here up at King K and in the Bay Area, to where they had either zero experience, or kids that had played in some pretty, darn good Pop Warner programs, had pretty good basics. But anyway, we tried to keep it as simple as possible. So just by design of the defense itself, our teaching foundation, where we came from, we wanted it to do as simple as possible. And then the other thing we did too is that as much as we could, we wanted to get the kids involved in it. As far as buy-in, we let them, name some of the different aspects, stunts and things like that. So some of the stuff that you'll see on here is just it's just a description. It's a generality. You guys have got to figure out how you want to what kind of terminology such you want to use. But at any rate, with the base alignment, we were, our ends and our nose, they were stacked head up on the ends on the tackles, our nose guard directly over the center, and then our backers were stacked right behind them. So let me go to the next one here. It's got a little more information on it. So our linebackers, we started off at 5 yards at the very beginning. And then from there, we let them, as we felt they started figuring this thing out and we got to know them a little better, we allowed for a little bit of flexibility, whether it was up, back. And then we'll show you definitely later on here where we might call stack, and then whatever the stunts were. And basically after that, it's like, I don't care where you line up, what you show, this is just where you need to end up. And as long as you can get there, we're good. And the kids were great at it. They did really good. Now, you're going to have to play that by ear, and I recommend give them as much leeway as you can, but don't let them put themselves in a position to where they're not going to be able to do something that's going to hamper the defense. They're going to embarrass themselves or whatever. So anyway, the linebackers start off at 4, sometimes they'd be at 5. Now with us, we didn't flip anybody. That defenses you're looking at right there, those guys stayed that way, left to right. So there was no, there wasn't a strong side backer, weak side backer, or strong safety, weak safety. It's been so long ago. I think those hybrid safeties, I think they had at one point they wanted to be called Vipers or something like that. So whatever worked for them. And then we always started off teaching with our first coverage was cover 3, just, make things as simple as possible. So if you guys got any questions as going, just holler out and, see what we can cover. So basically it was a stack. And then as you can see that, we're just paired up, and those stacks are aligned with the adjoining gaps over the top. So your nose and your mic, both A gaps, sending, one guy's going one direction and one guy's responsible for the opposite gap. Same thing with your ends and the, bobs or the outside backers. The hybrid safeties, if they were on a nub end, meaning there was no receiver on that side of their end man line of scrimmage, then, they were, usually with comfort, but usually a 4x4. That way they little better flexibility we found for us, for them to get into coverage if need be, and also gave them the leverage and the flexibility to help out, off of D to C gap as far as run support. They had to come back down. And then our free safeties, with the type of kids that we had, we didn't allow anybody to get real deep. I mean, we were usually 10 to 12 yards. So we didn't have any world-class speedsters out there by any stretch of the imagination. All right. So, and then when we started, we felt we had a good foundation built from there, and the kids are starting to move around. Then we started going to the alignment variations. Now, before we get into that, let me go back to this one here. When we started, having the line slant, the back slant, obviously there's specific techniques to that. We had these, the ends and noses, if they're slanting, we were teaching them, especially these little guys, they're having to get through their really skinny, really low. So they were grabbing grass. We had all sorts of drills where they're grabbing towels off the ground, that kind of stuff. But for us, that worked out really well. With bigger kids, as long as they've got speed, you should probably be okay. But you might have to go to, something where maybe you're slanting and being a little more physical with wherever your aiming point is. You might have to get hands on somebody. So, you just got to play that one by ear. As I mentioned earlier, it would have been so nice to have had just a nose tackle, a nose guard that could just, he could be a two gap guy, but that wasn't the case. I've had a few in the past, but it wasn't for this defense here. Only had one. So, but once again, if you guys got anything, just holler out.
Coach,
Yeah.
just out of curiosity,
Sure.
based on what you were talking about with the stack, I'm thinking of our boys this next year. We got some guys that are a little bit bigger. Did you guys, and maybe you'll address this later also, but I was wondering, did you guys also run kind of like a read type of movement instead of maybe slanting them, where they kind of work to more or less control the gap instead of
We went
sliding
from as a kids, as I told you, took over that one school and had the strength program there. As that started paying dividends, the kids are getting stronger, and those freshmen that had come in, they were much bigger than the juniors and seniors that were on their way out. So we started off with a little bit more of a gap penetration, get to the heels, find the football and fly. And then we were actually able to play a little bit where, we would maybe offset them and have them, especially with our nose guard, we would tilt him every now and then, and they would, attack the man hands on, read the V, try and displace him a little bit. And, so we got physical like that. And then I really can't answer the question how much further we could have gone with that, because that's when the last school that I used this at, that's when I brought my buddy in, and we looked at a lot of film and evaluated our kids and felt like, let's go away from this to a 4-3, because at that point we had all, we started having much more numbers that we needed for linemen, and that worked out pretty well for us, where we could be a lot more physical that way. And then with, we were able to do some stuff with bigger offensive linemen too.
Okay.
So,
Appreciate it. Thanks.
but yeah, if you're going to have to kind of mix and match and see what works best. If, in my situation, like I said, the first year I took over, it was kind of, those poor kids were, they're awesome kids, but when you say, you look at defensive linemen, it's like, well, this is an aerial view of a defensive lineman. These kids are just tiny. So there was, they could not take anybody on physically. They had to get by them. So we had a kid that transferred. His dad came over, and he was one of my assistant coaches. So he brought his son over, and they had moved and all that kind of stuff. So it was all legal. Anyway, he had played at one of our competitors' high school the year before, and my nose guard was so quick that he would snap the ball and the kid would be behind him before, he was really set up to do anything. And he was just, he was, talking all the time, just how frustrated he was. And so, well, so if you've got kids like that, it's kind of, it works out pretty well. Now, if that kid had tried to take this kid on, it would have been all over, because, man, if he could get a hand on you or two hands on you, it was over with, because he was a big, strong kid. Gosh, I think he was one of my, even as a transfer, I think he was one of the first 500-pound squatters that we had in there. And then he was, I can't remember, he was clean in like 315 or something, but he just, his speed and his quickness wasn't, real well, working real well for him until we got into that a little bit. So at any rate, all right. So see here, stack alignment variations. Okay. So we would take the guys out every now and then, move them around, and we, leave everything pretty much the same in the middle there. Okay. 0 alignment, 10 alignment, and then move our defensive ends out into a 5 technique, Bob's in a 40, or, in a 40I. And then we could play all of our alignments and assignments out of that, the different type of tricks, games that we ran, the stunts and stuff. Again, even in that, the 5 tech, our ends were able to come back into a B gap if they needed to. And that allowed us for some different leverages for wide games that the offense might be, plays they might be doing. So it just was something that we felt we needed to have the ability to move around. We couldn't just say, well, you're going to stack over the top of this guy and either slant left or right all the time. We wanted to put some type of confusion together there. So it did make it a little difficult. We did get some comments from offensive coordinators time and again about, that it was, difficult for them to prepare because they never really knew, you're on the outside of me here and we're going to run this play and all of a sudden you've shot all the way across my face or whatever. So they worked to our benefit. We bring them inside, just, flip those 2 outside guys. So a little more of a, an eagle alignment type thing. So now that your ends are inside. Now with this, sometimes when we got to the point to where we had those bigger kids the last couple of years, or stronger kids especially, we experimented a little bit with tilting the ends. We'd line them in that 4, I bet they would tilt and they would attack the guards. So we actually got into that because we had, I think if I remember correctly, man, it's been so long ago. We had a couple of teams that we played in a row that were big time trap counter type people. So we wanted to, get in that guy's hip, or at least be in a position to where we were coming downhill and attacking it if we happened to be on the play side. And then so that, that benefited us a little bit there. And again, still could run all of the base alignments, assignments, everything that we wanted out of there. And really it's pretty flexible. You just, there's only a couple of times that usually it's with when you're messing around with running something with your safeties off the edge or something like that, that you're going to have to, match your coverage up with that. Otherwise, you're pretty good. We would shade the guys one side or the other. The only thing we did here on this, as you can see over here with this, the strong side Bob linebacker, is that he would, if there was 2 receivers to his side and we were sending him, he knew that should that back come out of the backfield, he would have a peel call, automatic. He'd have to go with that guy. Otherwise, we might. I think there was one time we brought, the free safety over really late, kept him on it, and let the free safety cover over the top of that. We stopped doing that just because of our personnel over on the other side. Like I said, we didn't flop them. So there was times where if we did that and we brought the free safety over the top of that, over the top of that stunt, we got burned a couple times on the backside because our guys were, they weren't bad, but they weren't the best. So if we played against somebody that had, a lot of speed, we were at a disadvantage. So,
Coach, are your linebackers mainly your Mike and then your off ball backer? Are they both still one gap in this situation?
yes, yeah.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
that
That's a run read. Their
Sure,
run
yeah.
read. So, and then with that, we allowed them, in if they're in a gap or whatever, we just told them, look, you're reading through into the backfield. So align yourself to where you have the best possible view. And so many times we would call stack So you would think they would be lined up directly behind their end. Well, he might be inside the end a little bit or outside the end a little bit, depending on the offensive line splits or, whatever his vantage point was. As I mentioned, we told the kids, look, don't care, within reason, don't care where you line up. It's where you end up. You've got to be able to carry out your assignment. So if he can see better and react faster, then he's going to be able to do his assignment better. If he's trying to, look over, especially if they had a great big offensive line or something, sometimes these, guys had to I got to, look through this picket fence somehow, find my vision. So, but they would get their reads and then, move from there.
Would that walk up backer be an automatic? Is that an automatic with the shade?
Yes, that one was, yeah, shade. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
So then with your linebacker reads, like what you were just saying, are you saying that they're basically they're looking through guards, keying backfield? Is that what you're saying with their reads?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And was that consistent then through all of these different alignments? And if they were just playing like a base, not coming on a blitz?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Unless they were called on something. So in this situation, let's say that they want to run they're going to run a trap. They're going to, and this, our Mike linebacker here is reading through that guard. Well, he sees that guy pull. He's going to step down. He's going to squeeze, but he's not going to, he's not going to scrape and fill until he sees that ball into the line of scrimmage. Then everybody else is reading on this side. So is this their right guard? If he blocks down on that nose, now this Bob back or the B back there, he's going to have, he's coming down, he's filling. And then the end is, of course, depending on what they want to do. What is their philosophy? Is this the guy, are they going to trap him? Or are they going to read him and turn that guy up if he gets too deep or what have you? But we taught him, obviously you guys are all doing the same thing. If that offensive tackle comes down in hard, he's got to come, with him, take up space and look for who's going to be replacing, so as that trap guard comes across. And then should there be, let's say they're running a zone read, well, that Michael step down. They've seen there's a couple guys that ran tried to influence that, bring that guard across, and then they'd read the outside guy with the quarterback. Well, then the Mike's responsible for reading that, and then he would help looking for anything coming back through AB, and then of course as the ball got outside, then he would scrape off the C and help fill. We tried to keep the box consistent, keep all the gaps there until they declared, or the ball had penetrated, and then we would move from there.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yep, I believe so.
Okay. All right. We had the inside stuff. Like I said, we did, this was one that, I didn't draw it up here because I was getting to, just too many slides and stuff. But I'm no mathematician here, but when it comes to just the box with, you got 3 down linemen and 3 linebackers, I don't know how many different versions of stunts you can draw up. It's ridiculous, the number of things that you can do. So, it's what you can handle, what the kids can actually do. And then, obviously in a week, there's only so many things that you can practice. So I don't know how many of them you can, you got to have that foundation that you build from, and then you might be able to, go from there and come up with something that may benefit you for your current competitor that week, that Friday night. But there was stuff, we didn't get into where we were bringing our ends all the way across into an A gap and the nose all the way around the C, stuff like that, because it's just, it was a long way to go. And then we felt because of the size of our kids that they needed to make penetration quickly. They had to get back, get beyond this line of scrimmage, get behind these guys, and then react from there. Well, if they're going, these cross loops, defensive end going from, a stack alignment out there on the tackle, and he's trying to come in and penetrate that an A gap. He's going a long ways laterally. So it doesn't take but, one time that a guard gets up or center comes across and gets on him, and, then our guys were going to get displaced big time. They were going backwards. We just couldn't take anybody on. Now, if you got the kids that can do it and they're strong, quick enough, and they've got the strength to, rip underneath that and get in there, more power to you. That, that's awesome. We just didn't have it. We worked that type of stuff. We had to answer that question with different types of stunts behind it. So usually that would have been usually like a 5-man pressure, we'll get into that here in a second, but was obviously you're down 3 or penetrating upfield, that's 3-man. If you're going to insert a backer, now you've got 4 men pressuring, or 3 down linemen and 1 of your safeties, whatever the combinations are. But inside the box, it was always the down lineman and then 1 or 2 of the backs, either a Mike and an outside backer, or at times if we had what we felt was a good combination that would benefit us and not put us in trouble, we might send both the outside backers at once. But the competition that we played against, especially in the Bay Area, a lot of teams were, they were spreading out, they were throwing the ball big time. So boy, the first time you sent a safety or something, somebody was going to try and, next couple of plays, they were looking for that again and looking to, run in behind that. So you had to have an answer for that. So if you sent both of them, boy, you're putting some guys at disadvantage behind them there. At least our kids. Oops, not that. Okay, here. All right. So with our shade, like I say, we would send like the back. We would either shade away and get into the gap that we were shaded into. We could line head up on it, walk the backer down to the outside that we called, and let's say we called the strong Bob, and he would go from there. Now on the 3 receiver side, we would tell them, look, be aware you've got peel if this guy takes off, because we always felt like, if he peeled and they wanted to do something with the quarterback, get him to go out, and then the quarterback might try and run, we can always fold back inside with the backer, with the safety, and then we had the free safety coming downhill too. So we always felt like we were pretty solid on either side. But with that pressure, excuse me, we would, that worked out pretty well for us, coming up and getting that. A lot of times what ended up happening, especially in passing situations, is they, at least against our competition, is they would not, if they saw that backer walk up, they might flip that running back over to that side, and he would take him on, because they always thought, well, he's coming. So a lot of times we just tell him walk up, then he would just drop off and run his whatever the called defense was. He may not have had anything. He may have had hook curl, walled hook to curl here, and he would have just dropped straight back. So different little aspects of it that worked out well for us. We were fortunate, like I said, our kids were not real big. But the neat thing with those kids at both places, they were bright. They picked this stuff up. They got into it. They bought into it, which was huge, very quickly. I think they enjoyed the fact that they got to have ownership into it with, you know, making the terminology, the names of different things. You know, I could care less what we call it, as long as it's not 15 syllables long. You know, you guys call what, you know, this, the you know, what do you want to call this bob coming off edge there? You know, who cares what it's called? They want to call it boom or blast or whatever, you know, makes no difference to me, as long as they know what they're doing. And I know what they're doing, we're good to go. So for whatever reason, they really got into that. Oh, all right. Any questions on this one here? Shade weak alignment.
I think you're good, coach.
All right. Then strong side, and then let's see. No, here. If we went to a strong side, excuse me, weak. Either side, especially away, we could align. You know, especially with a true tight end set like this, every now and then we would switch it up and put our that outside backer bob, instead of being, you know, in the same alignment all the time. You know, we might put him inside, outside, you know, what have you. And then same thing with the safety. So we could give a little different look, get hands on him, depending on, you know, what side of the field we were on. If this, you know, if this side was to the perimeter, or if it was to the field, we might do something different, you know, but almost kind of like a lack of a better description, of loose vice on him, to where he's not gonna get a free release. He's gonna get banged around a little bit.
Coach, would that alignment when the bob is outside the tight end, would that switch responsibilities between him and the safety?
Yeah. He's now got, you know, he's got the outside contain. He no longer has anything there. So the big thing it does here is that in this alignment, this isn't too bad. The free safety's probably going to be okay. Not have to be real cognizant of having to help. He's, you know, still going to be looking, but, you know, he's probably more inclined to think 3 receiver side. However, with this, you know, that Bob is going to, you know, put hands on that tight end, and then he's got outside contain. You know, he's going to read, you know, he's going to read through the tight end. You know, what's this guy doing? Is he down? Is he a high hat? Is he actually an extra blocker? Is he trying to get out? Is he trying to get across his face? You know, he's going to play run to pass, you know, and of course down in distance. And then the safety is going to, you know, run his pass responsibility, his run and pass responsibilities off that. So if we're in cover 3, you know, he's gonna get bumped by the bob. Safety's gonna have him for a second, and then if he tries to get too deep, well, he's gonna pass him off to the free safety, and you know, he may have you know, some flat coverage. So, but that would be, you know, what we'd be doing there. If the bob was on the inside of him, then normally with that, they were very physical on the tight end. Then they wanted to get into him, actually widen him out a little bit, you know, or set him back on his heels. They would attack pretty good there and try and disrupt that. You know, they definitely did not want to let him block down. So they would be very, you know, as physical as they could be. And for whatever reason, you know, our linebackers, you know, with the kids that we had, our linebackers actually seemed to be sometimes, if they weren't the same size, they seemed to be a little stronger, or for whatever reason, they had a little more success attacking something like that, you know, working on a tight end. That may have been our fault as coaches, you know, because we didn't have an alignment where we had the ends underneath the tight end, so they would never, you know, play in a hands-on situation. They were always trying to get that penetration, whereas the linebackers had a little more practice time, you know, working against those guys. You know, just, you know, their skill set was a little better for that. But again, for, you know, most of the other stuff we could do there, we were good with the all of the base stuff that we, where we could go. So, all right. Whatever reason the kids wanted to call this gut. So did remember that. So I wrote that down. But again, you can call it whatever you want. These guys were head up. Anytime we were in this, we were slanting. So it was either, strong, weak, or we would go wide where the ends would go back to the B gaps and the nose would have one A gap or the other, Mike responsible for the opposite. If they all went, let's say they all went strong, okay, all of the end, nose, and end are all slanting to the right, the Mike is now responsible for the backside B gap. So he would shuffle across, and get the best read that he could. We would, and the kids would stem into this every now and then. This one, we had success with this with some of the folks that, they short yardage stuff. They really wanted to either, quarterback sneak of some type, or, maybe we didn't run this too much against ISO teams. But we did have one team that did that. But, single back where they're just, like if they're trying to run a quarterback follow or something like that. So that worked out well for us with our personnel. You got to look and see what, you guys have and how that works best for you. So, but this, this would definitely wasn't a bread and butter one for us, but this worked out pretty well. All right. And then we would bring the guys over, run the gap scheme. So they basically, so this could have been a gut and they would have slanted weak. So this is where they would have ended up. And so we're already there, and the Mike's over the top of the B gap that he would be responsible for, or, had he been able to, supposedly move. It's just, once again, just a different alignment. And again, when the kids got this down, we would call, let's say we called base whatever. And they got to the point to where they were good enough to where they would line up in this like this and then stem over and run from there. So that, you can see where this would cause some confusion to the offense. If they're looking at this, and all of a sudden the guys come back. So, for us, it worked out well. But again, we had kids all the way, we had 11 guys out there that could think, and, they knew what they were expected to do, where they were expected to be.
So would they stem post snap there, coach?
No, pre-snap. Pre-snap.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
So
they
they'd
never
line
did.
up in this, they'd move pre-snap.
They'd line up in there, and then on the first, the quarterback, whether he first sound out of his mouth, they would shift over.
Gotcha. Okay.
No, if they were in this, like I said, with our guys, the little Lilliputians we had, if they tried to go from here all the way back over, if they got caught, oh my goodness, they would have got rolled. They just, they had to be quick. We had to get behind these guys. We weren't going to take anybody on. And then the opposite was, side with strong. So, what kind of guys are you going to be looking at line wise and in your box? Your down linemen and your linebackers. You have size.
So we got some kids with some size. I'd say we're bigger than we are faster.
Mhm.
But I was looking at possibly trying to have two different groups. I was going to have a quicker group and then a bigger group potentially.
Oh,
This
okay.
upcoming year with our D line at least.
And
Linebackers.
you two platoon?
No, not we're the smallest 11-man classification. But I am I'm a big rotation guy and trying to get some guys in there. Because we'll have some guys that they'll start on the O line, but I want to be able to rotate them in at least.
Yeah. If you can figure out the rotation, you'll be in good shape, because a lot of this with, because they've got to, obviously, with this, if you're running, penetration idea, these guys got to get off. They got to have the quickness to get into those gaps and get up there. So there's a little more energy being expended there. So you got to have that rotation and have backups that can get in there, give these guys a blow. And then obviously you're going to be looking at where am I in the game? What's the situation? Who do I have to give a couple of plays off, because we're going to be on offense here pretty quick. I got to get them right back out on the field, that kind of thing. So sounds like.
Did you guys ever really rotate your backers?
You mean as far as did they play defense, offense?
No, I mean, like, would you say, like, no matter who it was, but did you say, okay, we got like 4 to 5 guys, and so you kind of rotate them through, kind of like you, like I was saying with your D line, or was it like these are our 3 guys, and for the most part, unless there's an injury, like these are the guys they're playing these linebacker positions?
We did both. Mainly, we tried to keep the guys, because they build a relationship with each other, in those stacks. They figure out, what's going on, then they become really good at it. Now they can. You can do that with multiple guys. We did rotate guys in there because, had to, because a lot of our backers ended up being on the offensive side. And then we got into situations too where, we had to rely on some guys. We got some guys dinged every now and then. So, luckily for us, it wasn't too bad on the defensive side. The offensive side, wasn't quite the same. My last at the at Bay Area School last year, I was there in the first 2 weeks, actually first week and a half of the season. We lost both of our starting quarterbacks for the season. So we had to come up with something completely different offensively, and hopefully you don't have to do that on defense. We went from a spread, we're going to throw it all over the field, do all this kind of stuff, to it's like, ooh. My quarterback, I got 2 comments after games all the time. One was always from the defensive coordinator. I hate your offense. I can't figure out how to defense this darn thing. We can't line up against it correct ever. And then the second one was always from somebody, why is that kid your quarterback? That's all we have. You should see number 4, but he was a great leader, but bless his heart, that poor child couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. Just ugly. Yeah. All right. So again, you got your pressures that you can go. You have the down 3, and hopefully you don't have too many of those situations. I mean, if you got some studs there and you only need 3 guys pass rushing or whatever, and they can handle all that, that's wonderful. But usually it was for us, we would get in a situation where, we had to have, if it was 3 down and we were backing everybody else out for pass responsibilities, if we're 2 deep, 500, trying to keep that mess there, or backing away up, trying to keep that long ball. Not my favorite. I'm not a real big fan of prevent, but you do what you got to do. So anyway, 4-man pressures, we started teaching with, the mic first, as I mentioned earlier. That was the simplest, and then we built out from there. Now, so if we call base out like this, base out Mike Strong, ends are going to the C gaps, the bobs are coming into the B gaps, and then nose and Mike have the, however they're calling the A's. So if we, with us, if we called Mike Strong, that meant that was telling the no, for whatever reason, that was one little thing we had to figure out, was our nose could never figure out, you go opposite the call, that it was Mike that was going strong. So is it okay? So you're going that call, and our middle linebackers, they knew they went opposite of that. So that was just a weird little tweak that we had. You know, you just got to figure your kids out that way. So, you know, that worked out okay. Now, we did a couple of things with our nose guard. We would try and figure out what, you know, the capabilities of that center were. If he was not a real strong guy, you know, we might have our nose guard, you know, come off the edge, you know, whatever edge it was on him, and try and grab a piece. Yeah, basically, you know, I'll have to own up to it. We were cheating. So I coached in the Arena Football League for a while. And, you know, with that, we were real big on grabbing the center and trying to yank him across into the gap where we were, and making space on the backside for whoever was blitzing. So we put that in and, you know, coach your kids up enough to where, yeah, I don't think we got called on that, but, you know, more than once or twice out of all the times that we did it. So just, you know, moving them around that way. The mic was his option, whether he wanted to, you know, creep up a little closer, you know, take space and time away, or whether he wanted to, you know, maybe he was going to line, you know, do something silly like line up, you know, in this situation, he would line up over the guard to his right if we were going Mike Strong. Okay. So the nose would go to the left, he'd be over this guard, you know, maybe his outside shoulder, and then he would come across and try and come off the hip of that center that's being moved. So it's, you know, just little things that you look at and you figure out, you got to figure out what works best for your, you know, your kids. I can get them in the best possible scenarios. All right, then, you know, we did the same thing, which is the only difference here is that we're bringing the ends inside. So this worked out well. We had, I can't remember now, I think it was like one team, maybe two teams that they were real big on. You know, they loved running ISO inside the tackles. So this worked out well for us there. You know, we got bodies in there. Then, you know, now we'll hold the next level of the teaching. We'd keep the mic back. He would be responsible for his opposite A gap. He would be, you know, taking his step and reading through to his responsibilities. And then whatever side that we were calling the Bob, he's going through B or C gap, depending on the call off of his end. So, you know, on this side, you're looking at this is base out, Bob's strong. So tight end side there, he's scraping hard, you know, coming hard through that B gap, trying to get through there and, you know, disrupt things. And then you can see, you know, obviously the opposite on the other side. All right. And then we would bring them off the outside too. This in certain situations, especially with some of these single, you know, spread, single back or I back, and sometimes with the pro back teams too, that like to, you know, run a little bit of a pass game off of that. This worked out well because the Bobs could get up there quick and they got their depth. They came free pretty easily, but they were at a nice leverage point. You know, we usually didn't have quarterbacks bombing out of there. We were able to keep them into the pocket with this type of a call. Yeah, with the, you know, the Bobs coming the outside C gap type stuff, so they could get up there. And then back to, I didn't draw it up here, but there was times depending on tendencies or you know, especially the what would end up being the three receiver side, that Bob coming on that side, he may have to peel with that. You know, so you know, we would just we'd have to match it up with the coverage. We did have one team that would drop back and they would send they would end up essentially with four receivers to that side. They would take that tight end. He would run flat. The fullback would run like an arrow. That their wide receiver, their Z would be, he trying to take the top off this, just move that corner back as far as he could, just place them horizontally. And then the tailback would be, running some type of a over the top, deep route over the top here, back, behind the quarterback. So we would have to make an adjustment with our coverage on that and, with the peel and who was going to end up where. But we had to have that, it wasn't too bad, with a tailback, if he's going, he's going to arc, what we call arc. We always felt like, well, we can come back downhill and pick that up. We had to cover the 3 guys that were coming across the line of scrimmage. So, all right. Anytime we started incorporating, when we went 5-man pressures, and we had used that again, we went back to our base. We started with the Mike and one of the outside backers. So Mike and Bob, or Bob and Mike, and the kids wanted to call it BAM. So that made sense for them. So and they just had to know, where they were going. So they were going BAM to the weak side. They knew, once again, we had to tell the line that you're slanting to the weak side, and especially with the one kid that we had, the only kid that we had any difficulty with, our nose, that put the Mike into the strong A, and the weak side, Bob, into that B gap there. So now we got 5 guys coming up field real quick. Questions, comments?
Nothing yet, Coach.
All right. And then to the strong side, same concept there. Now in this, we would have to adjust our coverage, because now we got to have, that free safety is going to have to cheat over a little bit, and he would probably be taking that tight end. We might bump him with the safety. He may be over the top, leverage to the outside, and take a little bit of that, and then let free safety pick up. It's kind of, we had some safeties that were fairly decent that could play that and still help to the outside. Normally this is on this stunt to that side, we were going to be in some type of a man protection of some type there. About as exotic that we got, again, because of our kids not being, the big monsters, was we would twist the backers on the trying to make a little bit of confusion in there. You could go either way you wanted, whoever you want to go first. Our guys, we did get to the point to where we just said, talk to each other, flip a coin, whatever. But we usually would start out with trying to get that A gap open up. So if we were going to call this the first time, probably had the Mike going first, coming across, and then the whatever side backer, Bob, he would come second. And then we may incorporate trying to drag that, drag a piece of that center, at least get him turned. Grab and turning those shoulders, getting his shoulders vertical, rather than, keeping him thick in the hole there.
Coach, if you go back 2 slides real quick. One more. So on this, with your base out strong, BAM strong, on the previous one, when you went weak, that's because it's out strong, never mind. I was wondering why the end didn't come into the B gap on the right side, but that's because the call is an out call, so never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind, ignore me.
Yeah, the only, again, they're just playing their these guys on the strong side, the 4 in the box on the strong side, they've got their assignments. They're going. Yep. So on the back side, you could call base slant strong bam.
Yep.
Same thing.
Yep.
Now you got your end coming inside and, you know, the bob coming outside. So if you feel, you know, for whatever reason, you feel the need to, if you got to get that safety out, you know, he's your skiff player. He's got to get out there because they're trying to, you know, maybe that's their best receiver out there. You want to help that corner. Well, that wouldn't be a bad call. Get his rear end out there real fast and bring that end inside, and then your bob could come off the edge, and then he can pick up anything that comes out of the backfield.
Yeah. Would you guys run a lot of man behind these 5-man pressures, or would you guys be running a 3?
Mostly, yeah. We had some kids that they did pretty good running man. Yeah, so we did run a lot of man on that.
Okay. If you and maybe I'm just curious, because I guess I know what we did this last year, so I'm just kind of curious. If you guys ran a 3 off this, what would you do with that bob backer that's not blitzing?
Oh, he might, you know, depending on what we have, we may just drop him. He may just drop to the hole there.
Yeah.
And you know, and read, and you know, he'll help out to whatever side he sees. He, you know, sees, you know, because you've got, he can drop and he can still get back to this weak side. He can drop to the hole and still get back to the weak side off of that.
Yeah. Okay.
The only thing we might do is if we know if they had a tendency to say they wanted to run something out here, and because of the speed of that X out there, we felt like we've got to get this safety out there to help support our corner. We got to get coverage underneath and over the top. Well, now you got a, you know, kind of a little area out there where something can happen. So we might tell that bob on that side, look, you got to read and be ready to flow fast to get into, you know, into that backfield area outside of the tackle. You know, if they're going to throw a guy off the edge, you know, maybe an arrow or something like that coming off the edge.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
yeah. So a lot of it's just, you know, just gotta, you know, scout your opponent, figure out what these guys are doing. Okay, so we talked about the twist. All right. Okay, so this, you know, where we're leaving this is the one where, you know, we had to play man out of this, and, you know, with the guys that we had, it was like, oh man, I hope this works, because if they get behind this, we're in deep stuff, because there's not much coverage. So I'll be honest to say that, you know, when we sent both outside backers, it better be the right situation. Otherwise, I was getting a little nervous there sometimes. You know, because there's, you know, Mike's got a lot of stuff that he can, you know, he's gonna, if he reads past, he's gonna drop back to the hole. But, you know, in this type of you know, if they got a 21 like this, you know, that's not too bad. If they're running something else, you know, if they're running twins, you know, split to both sides, then, you know, now we got some issues. We've got to be really, really good on our alignment, and they got to get there. They just got to get there. So, you know, the great thing is that we were able to be quicker than most people. But if anybody got held up at times, you know, if they had too much time, you know, and the pass rush didn't get there, you know, it could be obviously a huge, huge detriment to you. So, all right. What else we have here? So this is another one. You know, ran a lot of man stuff. 1 and 1 and 0. Okay. Our outside stuff, every now and then, this would be something when we ran sniper. Obviously your hybrid safeties, they're probably going to be these are kids that can, you know, they're pretty rangy. They can move around. So there's probably maybe better speed out of them, quickness out of them than your inside backers, or your box backers, your bobs and your Mikes. So we might sneak him up at the end, We may cheat the free safety over to that side, but that safety he's going. Now, this usually my defensive coordinator, he liked to run this from time to time. It worked out well for us, but he always ran it that this side would have been the perimeter side of the field. We'd have been on the hash. This wasn't a midfield. We certainly didn't run. He wasn't real comfortable, and I wasn't real comfortable with him running with sending the safety off of the wide side of the field. Now that was just because of our personnel, mainly the personnel behind the safeties. Usually there was a little more space for the offensive, the receiving core there to move around in, and our guys could do things, but we just wanted to keep them in the best possible situation that they could be in. So this is pretty much a perimeter type thing that we did, short side. So, and then the rule that we had for that guy going was you're going at near shoulder of the closest back. So we don't want, we're trying to keep everything in front of you. We don't want anything coming around. You definitely don't want to run underneath that quarterback. And he may have the peel responsibilities too. They send that guy, because you can see he's going. So you've got number 2 there. That back's got to get over and wall him. Maybe run to through hook curl. He might widen out a little bit. Free safety is going to have to come over the top of that a little bit and to help out on that side. So, it worked out well. We were a little bit leery of it. I don't recall us ever getting, if we got burnt, it was always on the other side, for whatever reason. It's just something happened late. But, if that safety got picked up for whatever reason, I can only recall one time where I don't know if he slipped, tried to cut off of his inside foot, slipped, fell down, but he didn't get to the peel, and they got the ball out to the back out of the backfield for I can't remember if they scored. It was a big game, but I know it if I recall, didn't help us out at all. No. Then we started out coverages, and we just we were basically cover 3 and then man, some form of man, and that was it. We didn't there's some guys out there right now that are doing some really cool things with split field coverages and such, and we just with the staff that I had like I said, my defensive coordinator was really sharp. The guys, everybody else that was there, they were all volunteer coaches. So it was tough getting them in, and then just the timing of the whole thing. So, trying to coach the coaches, you had to kind of keep it, kind of basic for them too. But typical cover 3 alignment here, just try to run this, this quick. And then with this in a passing situation, we were usually going to run some type of a game, usually a 4-man pressure of some type. So if we sent the Mike, we're probably in a good position there. We didn't have to make much adjustment. If we sent one of the Bobs, then the Mike would shift over, and he would, we'd give up the hole, and that Mike would replace the Bob that was going, and he would be the hook curl guy. And then we just have to, fall back in on anything like if they're trying to, maybe send the back up the middle on something like that. If they're trying to clear him on a pass.
Coach, with your alignment with your hybrids, was it always, when you're in cover 3, was it always 4x1, 4 yards off, 1 yard inside the?
If they got an outside guy like that, yeah.
Yeah, if they have the number 2. Okay.
Yeah.
And then for your free safety, this is getting into a little bit more run responsibility. Obviously, he's got deep third for your cover 3, but would he have an alley type responsibility within the
Yeah.
run game?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah. So that's, because of the personnel that we had, our free safeties, they were, we didn't have any 4-3-5, 4-4 guys. So we were, we had them at, say start off at 10 and, get comfortable. And then if they worked out okay, we'd let them move around a little bit. If they didn't, we might scoot them up a little more. But in this, we would also, they don't have to line up. Basically, we told them, look, split the number ones. And that was your general rule. And then from there, wiggle your alignment around a little bit where you get your best read into the backfield, where you can read through the line into the backfield. You're going to get your initial cue from the line, where's the hat, high hat, low hat, whatever they might be doing. And then, we can start deciphering what the heck's going on in front of you from there. So we wanted him to be able to see, so I didn't want him lined up directly behind the nose and the mic, because, as soon as the ball snapped, now he's got two guys filling those A gaps, and his vision is now, he's got five guys in front of his vision between their two guards, center, and our two guys. So let's clear that up from, at the snap, be aligned in wherever you need to be. If you're midfield, pick a gap, that you can peek through. If you're on the perimeter, or on a perimeter, pick the field gap and look through that. Maybe that, if that works out best for you. It just, it's what we felt that the kids can do, and more importantly, where they work best from, where they felt most comfortable, they were most effective from. So, but they definitely had to, come downhill and help out on run.
Would you use that same read for then your hybrid safeties, where they were obviously different angle, but they would kind of be looking through, maybe that offensive tackle to
Oh,
the
definitely. Yeah.
backfield
Yeah.
also?
Yeah. Yep.
So you kind of just kept that read then the same for those six guys.
Yeah, because they could peek through the outside shoulder, through the hat of that tackle, and get a quick read off of that, and then get eyes back on, from to the outside 2-1.
Yeah.
And then if we happen to be playing, man protection, then, kind of bets were off for that. They're having to, they're up a little further. So, but then we're letting them do their thing outside. But then with the box six, then we've got whatever our alignments and assignments are with those guys. We've got all of the gaps covered with that. So, in theory, we've got that run pretty well. Should have it covered, should be able to get to it. And then these guys can always come back downhill and help out if we need.
Yeah.
But in a zone situation like this, yeah, they could be off and just, be aligned and peek through on the snap. What's this guy doing? And then get eyes back on and just, play their technique to their zone, see him curl flat.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Cover zero, you got no help. We were usually, this is something where we had to bring that free safety down, because we were sending a safety. We did not have a situation anytime where we brought our free safety into the box and sent him. So meaning leaving corners and safeties man to man on their outside people, and then the free safety being, blitzer within the box. If we did that, he would have had to replace one of the bobs on their stunt, and that bob would have had a responsibility of probably playing wall to number 3, and picking that guy up with whatever he might be doing. So if you follow me on that. But we just didn't feel like our free safety, at either school had what it took to send them through there. And then, well, it didn't work out for us at the second school, but with especially that school, our free safeties, both of our free safeties, or also both of the two quarterbacks I told you about that got dinged and were done for the year. So, we really didn't want to just stay back in the back, and someone gets across the line, show up late, don't get hurt. But that didn't work. So, but 0, nothing over the top, and then our cover 1. And this was all inside stuff, and then inside stunts, inside box stunts, so line and the linebackers, and then our free safety picking up that number 3 wherever he happened to start from. So, and then 2, and then of course if we had to, we would drop everybody way back, so half, half quarters. So, and what do you got question-wise? Because that was basically, that was our starting point. That's where we started from, our teaching foundation, where we got, if you got questions specifically on some of the positions, we might be able to touch on that. But basically, it was just trying to, get these kids to know where they're going, what their responsibilities were. And then, then there was a flexibility, or the adaptations off of the different coverages and such. But we just, again, with what we had to go, and have to go. We went with this because we felt it was the best for our personnel. It was going to put them in the best opportunity for success. We didn't want to ask them to do something that was just going to be, physically more challenging for them to do. So that's where we were with that.
Coach, how do you handle overload, like a tight end to one side with like 2 receivers?
You mean like a trips?
Yeah. How did you guys handle like trips and that kind of stuff?
Free safety would be normally, in a normal situation, we're going to walk that safety is going to go out, and he's going to be on number 2. And the free safety would come down, and he would be, over the top of, somewhere over the top of the number 3 to that side, to the 3 receiver side. So corner's still on 1, safety's 2. The free is going to be over the 3. We will, by alignment, we'll do something with the backer where he's going to wall that. If he's not on a stunt, he would wall and keep that, trying to keep any wide pop, slant type stuff coming across there. Let's say we ran an alignment where maybe we went put the line away from trips, we walked that backer up like we were going to blitz him, then that Mike would have been moved over, possibly over to the 3 receiver guard. We might cheat him out a little further. Now he's going to be, have to be cognizant of any type of pressure coming inside route wise off of that tight end, or anything, if they're trying to run some type of a rub or a pick, with him coming up and trying to take that safety away, and then running number 2 underneath.
Okay. I was always worried as a defensive coordinator of like having a team come out with an attached tight end and then 2 receivers, and then running to that side. But we had a different philosophy with our free safety. We didn't have a free safety that necessarily we wanted this coming down hard, because for us it spread out our force players so much compared to our spill players, and so it left that run bubble to the tight end side, which always made me a little nervous.
Yeah, I can see that. For whatever reason, our kids really, and I'm speaking of our outside linebackers, and so at times if we were blitzing the Bob on the 3 receiver, the trip side, and the Mike was over, but between those 2 guys, for whatever reason, they just loved playing against, if it was trips and they got to be over there, because the first, they'd take that little, quick read, and their eyes are on that tight end right away, and they'd read, from 3 to 2, but those guys just loved collisioning anything that was coming into their area. So they got really good at that. They took pride in that. So, they're always coming off the side. Did you see me get that guy, coach? Did you see me get him? Yeah, you did good. You did good. So, yeah, those are a few of them where they thought, they ran that tight end out and they thought, well, we'll just, we'll eliminate this safety, push him up, and, we'll get number 2 underneath or something. And, the poor guy come underneath there and just get clocked, if we ever got into his route. So, and then they, the tight end, they were so close, they were able to get into them and just wall them off. So
When you guys ran your alignments, would you guys still run your base 4, 5, 6 man pressures from the different alignments of your defensive line?
Yeah, to a point. If we're capable of doing it, there's some of them that don't lend themselves. You'll find, and sometimes it's alignment. For us, more times than not, it was a personnel thing.
Okay.
If we had them aligned, and I wish I could give you, I wish I had film, but that stuff is like old. I don't know where I'd find it. It's probably etched on a cave wall somewhere. But the personnel and the alignment just didn't match up correctly. They weren't able to, get to where they needed to be.
Yeah.
So some of those didn't work out. There was better answers for us to, and the answer might be a compromise, but it worked out better for us, kept them in a better situation to where they could have success, to defend that play.
So you guys wouldn't really blitz as much out of those alignments. It was kind of, we're going to shift this alignment just to kind of mess with the offensive line.
We would do as much as we could. There was, stuff that we would board up and say, man, if we, we can't do that because of so-and-so, but we can do this. If we felt like, they're lining up in trips and they've got, for whatever reason, we would scout out their personnel. Look, when they do this, especially this side, let's run this blitz from here because, we don't feel like their personnel on a specific side was up to, what we could take, throw at them blitz wise. They might not be able to pick this up, probably. So it was just, we spent a lot of time, really scouting these guys up and trying to match things up that would benefit us, would have the best success. But, in a situation like this, we, like I said, I didn't really enjoy sending both safeties. If we're in looking at a 2-by-2 alignment, we might be on the perimeter. If I can sneak my free safety over and we can send a safety, he can rotate down, real quick and go, we might be able to live with that if the safety's up to it, making that coverage. It just, with us, it all depended. And there's all sorts of stuff that, the combinations of this defense are just unbelievable. The things that you can do, but you just gotta, you have to be smart enough and honest enough just to, what can my kids do? You don't want to put something out there that, we're not going to get there, or this kid can't, I got 11 on the field and 10 of them can do this and this one can't. So.
Yeah. And that's where I meant more like, I was specifically talking about like when you guys went shade weak, shade strong,
Mm-hmm.
You guys would still maybe run,
See, out of the shades, the kids that we had in the box, those kids could get wherever they needed to go. They could go across, they were quick enough to go across somebody's face. Now, we did have, they had the leeway to flex their alignment. They could flex back a little bit to get there a little easier. And there was times where, they would line up in that, flex back a little bit, and they'd go opposite way. But, they got to the point to where, we explained everything to them. coach it up. Look, if you line up here, if you're on the outside, if you're at a 5 technique on this guy, and we want you back into that B gap, flex back a little bit. It's going to allow you to get across there. You're going to have a better angle. Okay, but the next time you're going out, you got to see, you've got a C gap assignment now, but flex back. He may look at this, go, oh, shoot, this guy's coming in. He may take a step inside and give you that lane. So once they understood, how to play this and what, how they might be able to manipulate the guy in front of them, that was, something that allowed for a lot more success for us. But so it was just a big, the coaching points had to be, spot on. We had to let them know, look, here's why you would do this right now. Here's how you can do this, what may or may not work to your benefit. So once they had, basically they've mastered their position, it worked out really well. So we did some stuff with, flexing the nose back. That helped out. He wasn't going anyplace, but either a gap, but, it kind of confused the center at times, or made angles harder for if they're trying to block down with the guard, maybe they're trying to double team him, or, take him and run a trap. Well, now the angle's completely different. So, there's things that benefit. So you just got to, look at it to, figure out what works best for your kids. And then the biggest thing is just make sure that you have a sound foundation to work from and go from there. Because a little bit of, this defense, any defense, but a little bit that they have mastered and they can run it without thinking about it, you're going to have success. If you throw a whole bunch of stuff out there, oh, we could do this, we could do that, let's throw these 3 stunt packages in this week and stuff, it's going to bite you in the rear, because it's probably going to be too much for a high school kid to grasp right off. So you got to balance that out between, what your ideas are, what they can actually master, and then the mastery is a 2-part thing. Are they physically capable of doing it, and are they mentally capable of intellectually capable of understanding it, carrying it out?
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions for Coach Gaskell?
I just want to say thank you, Coach.
Oh, no problem, man. It's a pleasure to be here. It's fun. So haven't done one of these in a long time. So I'll be bailing from this one as soon as we get done. And I got to get with a buddy of mine in San Diego, because we do speed and movement. So we're putting a big deal together over there. So
Oh, wow. That sounds amazing.
yeah. If you have an opportunity, ever look this guy up. His name is Dale Baskett, Baskett. I've worked with Dale for about 20 years now. He was the original strength coach, speed coach in the NFL. He was with the Seattle Seahawks way back when. But the stuff that we do is all science-based, biomechanics. So basically, we're teaching kids how to run, how to move on the field, how to accelerate, how to decelerate. So, people come out and look and well, where's your ladders? Where's your parachutes? Where's, you don't do the toy box stuff. We teach you how to run, how to control your body. That's where the secret is. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody if you've got a brand new set of ladders there and stuff, but I think you'll look long and hard before you find all those ladder drills. If you can find that same movement pattern out on the field in the game, get back with me and let me know.
For sure.
Icky doing the shuffle in the end zone doesn't count. That didn't get him there.